Hi, my name is Natalie, and I wanted to do a little bit of a mini reading on Aaliyah, excuse me, not Aaliyah, Aaliyah. And she was this amazing woman. She and I have our birthdays in the same week. We both have Capricorn suns and Aquarius risings. So I thought that was really dope that we have a similar placement. We also have Venus in Sagittarius. So I really truly loved that, and I just loved that I had such a similar chart to Aaliyah. And so let me just tell you a little bit about her chart. Actually, let me pull up her chart real quick because I don't remember it 100%. And let me just show you. And it looks like this. All right, y'all. That is her natal chart, okay? All right. So, Miss Aaliyah, she was born on January 16th, 1979 at 8:43 a.m. in Brooklyn, New York. She's a Capricorn sun at 25 degrees, a Virgo moon at 1 degree. She's an Aquarius ascendant at 22 degrees and a Sagittarius midheaven at 8 degrees, okay? So let's go ahead and discuss this chart. Okay, so right off the bat, I see her sun has aspects to Mars. Hold on. What is going on? This is really being annoying. Okay. So her sun has a conjunction with Mars. It biquintiles her moon. It squares her Pluto. It opposes her Jupiter. It sextiles her Uranus. And it sexquadrates her Saturn. We're not going to get too deeply into the minor aspects. Maybe one day I may get into that as my audience grows and you guys grow your astrological knowledge with with me, as me being like a guide for you, or as you being a scholar of your own right. But I'm not going to go and start talking about minor aspects right off the bat. The main things that we're going to talk about is the sun being conjunct with Mars, squaring Pluto and opposing Jupiter, and sextile Uranus. So with her sun being with Mars, like her energy, even though she had a 12th house sun, and this 12th house is about losing your things, it's losing your ego. Any planet that kind of goes in there becomes more hidden, and it becomes more permeable. Like it kind of is like the outer layer of skin is not there. It loses a lot of its epidermal layers of these planets when you put them into the 12th house. So your sun there being the brightest light, it does illuminate the 12th house, which means that you can begin to make sense of what is in the 12th house. But then you have to also take into consideration that you lose some of the sun while putting it there. So the ego, which is what the sun represents, it also represents the father. A lot of people who have 12th house suns have daddy issues because the father was not emotionally available for us in some way, shape, or form. Whether he worked too much, he was absent, he was an alcoholic, he was in jail, he had addictions to drugs, or just he wasn't there, period. That it was a very tough placement for a lot of people to have because it does show, like I said, a layer of issues with the father. I also want to incorporate, speaking about the Sun squaring Pluto, which is another layer of understanding how her father issues are continued, because you have the Sun square to Pluto, which means your father or the father figure was very much a domineering individual. This is a person who pretty much wanted to dominate your every move. There was a power struggle between you two. There was also just manipulation, like emotional manipulation, mental manipulation. And so not only did she have this experience into her where she kind of just was a person that was not at the power, but she, at some point, if she were to live a little longer in life, she may have also flipped that and been the abusive person. Not to call her abusive, but I'm saying that this particular placement can show itself as turning that way, especially like Sun or Mars with Pluto. It's just like, especially with it being met at a square or an opposition, like those are very hard aspects to find and to survive. So if you don't learn how to master this situation, is you can find yourself into patterns of unhealthiness about power and domination and manipulation and abuse. So with her having Sun in the 12th house, like I said, her ego's there, issues with the father. We're also seeing with her Sun with Mars, the father, if he was there in her life, he's a very masculine man. He's very powerful. He's very aggressive because there's Mars energy. Very forthright, very blunt, very direct, very much a person that did what he wanted to do. And like I said, with the Pluto situation as well, it's just showing, like I said, that issue with power, the issue with control, the issue with domination. And he could have been a person that was abusive to her, you know. What I'm going to do, like I said, is kind of make this be a spiritually led reading. So, I'm going to, hold on. I'm going to talk about this. So, tell me about the relationship between Aaliyah and her father. And, oh my goodness. Oh. I'm not seeing good cards, even the ones that are flying out. Okay, so tell me about the relationship between Aaliyah and her father. Okay, so the relationship between Aaliyah and her father, like I said, was very much like an on and off situation, because the Eight of Wands represents movement, action, traveling, okay, distance. I'm also seeing the Two of Swords, so this was definitely an on and off relationship. I feel like either he wasn't always in her life and he was in and out, or there was always something about them that kept them away or kept them apart, or they were just emotionally distant, but there was distance between her and her father. She went back and forth about how she felt about him. Definitely 100%, there was a lot of pain that came from her father toward her, so she definitely felt a lot of trauma and heartbreak and harsh feelings toward her father. He was very much a mean-spirited individual toward her, and that's kind of how she's very sensitive, and she kind of developed a tough skin by way of escaping. She definitely kind of traveled a lot in her mind. She definitely wanted to get out of situations. She definitely was a person that daydreamed a lot and procrastinated and just thought about getting out and escaping and In a lot of ways, her energy reminds me of Jenny from Forrest Gump. This is definitely her father right here. Her father's being described as a person that was very, very cerebral, very mental. He's a person that was always having something to say. He always had something smart to say. Not necessarily smart to say like in a negative way, but like a person that just had a lot of knowledge about a lot of different amount of things. He also was a person that once he made up his mind about something, you can't really change it. He's not a person that really was open to too many other people's ideas. He pretty much was pretty rigid. Like he has a very Aquarian energy about him. I definitely feel that this is a person that, like when I feel his energy, I just feel like he was like a person that he's nice, sometimes. Like you can catch him on a good day. Or if he's out with others and he's like enjoying himself or partying, that's cool. Or when he's not drinking, that's cool. But it's also showing me here like her dad had issues with drinking. So like when he wasn't drinking, he was better. He's a better guy. He was a nicer guy. Her father had a lot of emotional issues as well. Her father also was an escapist. And he also like was always like on a hunt for new jobs. I don't feel like he ever really had any money. I feel like he was always like on a new scheme to get rich. Like I feel like, with the pursuit of happiness and like the dude was lugging around the bone density machines. Like her dad, he was always trying something new. He always had a new idea. He was always like trying to be a businessman. I don't feel that. And then funny thing is like her dad shows the energy of like a functioning alcoholic or something along those lines, where yes, he drinks, but he was smart. He still could kind of, go and deal with the regular world and things of the sort. So I just feel like this was a very strained relationship that she had with her father, and the astrology of it as well kind of denotes a similar thing. Let's talk about her moon. Her moon is showing itself as being in her 7th house. Yeah. And it's in Virgo. And so it is square to her Venus. Okay, so her moon is in Virgo and it's square to Venus, which is in Sag. Moon in Virgo in the 7th house tells me that her mother was very submissive in relationships. It tells me that her mother also was like a servant, like she did a lot. She was a person that was like always like cleaning up or always trying to find something productive for herself to do. And her mother was really the person who carried the relationship with her father. If her father was an alcoholic, which let me double check and confirm. I mean, yeah. I mean, he was, Yeah, so yes, he was. Anyway, the mother would clean up, you know what I'm saying? The mother would get up and go to work. The mother was very much a perfectionist. Her mother was very efficient. Her mother cared a lot about how she looked, how the kids looked. She was very much an appearances type of person. And, Aaliyah, in a lot of ways, was going to emphasize her relationships And not only was she going to emphasize her relationships, but she was going to feel that she was going to find her emotional needs being met by way of relationships. Aaliyah emotionally is calculated, or was calculated, I should say. So she was a person that, instead of, even though she was sensitive, instead of going to a point of being in pain or just deeply saddened by how something went, she would rationalize it. She would scan her logical side of her brain, make sense of it, and she would get over it. She was very much into like self-soothing and things of the sort. I want to see what her relationship looked like, and the energy between her and her mother. That scared the hell out of me. It's actually time for me to be meditating, but I'll do that after I get done.